Right.
Mr. Betteroff.
Thank you, Judge.
Honestly, go fuck yourself, sir. You don't say that, okay? You don't lose a trial where a jury acquits someone and finds them overwhelmingly not guilty and say, I gave my sincere obligation to look into this, and I'm telling you all I saw when she's guilty. Again, respectfully, go fuck yourself.
Is that a fair characterization of what you said? Your Honor.
I want to hear objection before I hear a word out of your mouth.
Objection.
Overruled. Sit down. Oh, I said overruled. Sit down.
Swear again like that. That was, no, I mean, whatever. That was, I shouldn't have done that.
A few moments later.
You, as a prosecutor, have got to be out of your fucking mind.
Nose.
Dude, Jimmy, look at those ears.
The ears don't bother me as much.
No, I don't trust a man. I don't trust a man with a lobe like that. No,
really,
not a fucking chance.
The mouth is butthole to me.
Very thin, paper thin.
The nose.
Oh, the nose.
The brows.
Well, listen, I will tell you though, I kind of like a fucked up nose on a guy.
I like a big old honker. I like a big nose.
Old nose. Give me that big bitch. You know,
yeah,
like, I'm into it.
Come over here, cluck cluck.
Yeah.
I see some chickens that went moving on up in my biz, cluck cluck, running. You gotta be with the kids, the kids, the kids, the kids, the kids, kids.
And I go, oop, clutch, clench, kegel. We did it all. And I go, oh, and what happened? And they go, well, we just got 4,000 plus pages, bitch. And I said, stop it. Show me it. Take me to Unimpound Town immediately, if not sooner. So what happens?
The bitch is here.
Why are you at a football game? Are you a Fonz correspondent?
Well, no, because it's only for men over 30. Okay? Have a great night, boys. Fuck off.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me.
Hey, Blues Clues, motherfucker.
Hello, lovies. How are we? It is Thursday. It is August 27th, 2026 at 8:29 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm here. Late as all hell, but she made it. Have you tried these? I think you have. If you haven't, you're missing out. What say you? Tic Tacs. Orange, my favorite. What is this? What is this? What is this, pray tell? Does this need to go in the boom? A little orange Tic Tac in the boom? Fudge, yeah. Absolutely. Don't swear within the first 8 minutes. I think that's made my monetization go down. I'm keeping it classy. Podcat is here. Being a menace to society. Shout, Lucy. Lucy. Hi, how are you? Come on over. Come on over, Clover. Come on, leap. She'll leap with a single bound. Come, mother. Come, my child. Come, hold my hand. Hold it. Oh, she's holding me. Okay, she wants a podcat. A podcat wants a Tic Tac. Boom. Okay, ask me why I'm late. Generally, I'm late because there's calamities. Today's calamity was the fact that Michael can't figure out how to put an HDMI cable in a brand new television that he needed to go buy today. This is the second television we have had to buy because of him apparently feeling the need to, like, he's about as nimble, I don't know, as an elephant. I go, sir, how do you even knock over? I mean, he knocked over the one in the bedroom. Thank God for Meatball Morrissey, Sketty Stain. We did do a return situation to Wally World. But for this one, for this bad Larry, this 70-inch banger in the living room, podcast, hello, sighting. It ended up being a solo mission. I said, yep, there you go. Take an SUV, find yourself in New Hampshire, save yourself some sales tax, and figure your life out, sir. I put it together. Why? Because there's only little standees. Some feet of new televisions, I want to say it should be illegal. There shouldn't be screws. This shouldn't make me feel like it's a difficult situation. Thankfully for the product that Michael bought, which was a Samsung situation, you just slid them in, slid and locked. Very conducive versus a Roku TV of a brand of unknown origin that I bought, maybe a Kawasaki, bought that one. And didn't work out that well. The legs needed to be drilled in. It was a whole production. Lord, hear our prayers. Okay. Ooh. And there's 6.25% off when you cross the line to NH. We love it. Live free or die, baby. Okay. I have a couple things I want to say to you, and I mean this in the most loving possible way. This probably isn't an appropriate stream to do so, but since it is a ThicKIMs Thursday, the next person that tags me in some bullshit on X, I'm going to respond. And I'm not going to be quiet. I'm not going to bite my tongue. Okay? So cut it out. Cut it out with the wildness. Cut it out with the ridiculous nature of being like, Kim is responsible for every word that has ever been uttered by another human being on the World Wide Web. Stop. Stop. You have a problem with something I say? I'd be happy to address it with you. If you have a problem with something someone else says, take it up with who matters. Thanks so much. This is coming from corporate. It's above me. I don't even, just relaying the facts. I'm just like, ew, stop it. It's too much. Only one person here. All I can do is be like, wait, what? Why are you mad at me? What did I do? One time you said you supported this person and you said a hi in the chat 3 times. Okay, burn me at the stake. I don't know what you want. I'm not changing. Don't make me double down. I bend the knee to no one. That's the story. We're sticking to it. Okay. Ooh. Section 8 debate. Patrick Ford. Terrifying. And thank you so much to Metallicat9 says Kim is not responsible for all feral children running wild out there on these X streets. No, I'm not. Specifically Patrick Ford. Not responsible for him. Not responsible for what Montante says. I'm not responsible for what Aiden says or for what Jessica Machado says or for what Jimmy says. Oh, she's just, dear God, can't do it. I know you'd think you do think I'm a mob boss in some circles. I don't know. I'll put a hit out on all of them. Will that make it better? I don't know. Stop. I'm not responsible. Thank you. Okay. Oh, I like that. Oh, Cassie Baby says post and ghost is my motto. Cassie, I love that. I do like that. And most of the time I don't respond. But see, some people know that like what I will respond to. Or that I don't ever want to have like problems with people I have had relationships with. It's weird. It's weird. You have a question? Ask it. Don't just be like, oh, I can't believe. And I can't denounce. Here's the thing. I know that this is for normal people and normal people are at my house. I love you all, right? All of my as normal as we can possibly be. You can like somebody's show. You can like someone as a person, right? You can not like somebody as a person and like their show. You can not like somebody and not like their show. You can hate watch shows. You can do anything you want because you have free will. Not to get Catholic before we get into closing arguments, but like you have that choice, right? But the one thing you can't do is hold people responsible for other people's words. And, I'm never going to do it again. I did it one time. I denounced something that somebody said because I was like, obviously, I don't agree with that. But once you do that and once you open up a can of worms of like, and people have asked me for years, denounce Aiden, denounce this one, denounce that one. I'm not doing it. I stand on what I say. And if you have an issue with it, or there is a problem, or if I owe you something, I would be happy to have a conversation. But that's it. It would be ridiculous to believe that any one of us has control over what another grown adult says, and that you have to, every time someone puts their own foot in their mouth in whatever form or fashion it may be, that I need to say, oh, I liked you, but I don't like that. You'd be busy. You'd be busy all day. I've messed up. I've said shit I shouldn't have said. You'd have enough material with the things I've done. If you wanted to have, a problem, or if you wanted to say, hey, Kim, I didn't like when you did this, I'll answer it all day long. But I mean, it's been like months of me needing to be responsible or take accountability for other people's words, tweets, etc. Stop it. Grow up. Right. Exactly. Oh my God. Oh, and my baby Morgan says, wedding planning era, no time for haters. Well, we've got a long time to plan, and we've got a long time to have a good time. And also, we're too busy. All right. We might have freed Nurse Kim from one of the 3 jobs. Happy promotion Monday. Out of my tits. Shall we talk about it? Give me 2 seconds, ladies and 4 gents. She's unwell. You take a new role, you're feeling froggy, you're running morning clinical meeting, you're thinking you are that bitch. And then you realize, oh, our DON is retiring, and we have to hire a new other area clinical director. So it's Kim. Hi. I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to be doing all the things. And I go, whoo, she's up for the challenge. Please, Lord, let there be an interim bump in pay because it's too much, but in the best way. I feel like there's a really good staff. They've always been a good staff. I love that company. And, I think I'll be able to make it work. It's going to be crazy though. It's going to be chaos, which it always is. It always is. Home care, psych home care specifically, when you're doing like dual diagnosis patients, it's always just like you're chasing people down. You're doing wellness checks. Who's in the hospital? And or is there something, bad happening? So we will be following up. I will give you a play-by-play in a non-HIPAA violating manner at all times, because I love you. Thank you so much. Metallic Cat congratulating me, and a promoted queen from my baby Morgan. I did want to say also to our littlest lovey, Morgan, our youngest of all the cherubs, of all the loveys, she bought a shut all the way the fuck up, you dumb bitch hat, modeled it, should be in a magazine. She's as gorgini as they come. I put her on a little YouTube post. Okay. Might I put her on a page somewhere else? I don't know. But you should be modeling, Morgan. You're gorgeous. And thank you to my Cassie baby who tagged me in her post of the shut all the way the fuck up, you dumb bitch sticker. Situated exactly where it should be on her laptop. Obsessed. All right. Now let's get into it. What a day. What are you saying, Ford? Act normal. Oh, okay. So today, day 22, Lindsey Clancy trial. I am depleted. You are depleted. The Commonwealth, guys, this trial will go down in Commonwealth lore, I think, for always. What a nightmare. What an absolute kind of disgrace to the profession for prosecution and for women prosecutors, where a lot of people solely believe they were handed this assignment in this case because of their gender, and then treating this in the way in which they did. I feel like there was a lack of empathy for family victims, right? So 3 victims of babies, Dawson, Cora, and Callan. And their dad, their grandparents, their aunts. This is a family, a community that has been devastated in so many ways. A mother that I believe, in my opinion, was failed by the medical industrial complex in our country and was prevented from really getting the help in which she sought. And she sought it everywhere. And it was so wild to see the Commonwealth concede today that Lindsey Clancy did have a mental health crisis, was in psychosis, did an actual self-checkout attempt. And I'm like, I don't understand how there's another theory. It's such a mess. The jury has been deliberating for about 3.5 hours when they were sent home at 4:08 p.m. today from Plymouth. And they will be back to start deliberations tomorrow morning. The fact that there wasn't a verdict within the first 3 hours, don't be weird. We won't be weird. If it comes tomorrow, I would think it's going to be not guilty by reason of insanity. And if it goes longer than that, I would think it's a guilty, which I don't know how they would get there, or a hung jury, in my opinion. So if by tomorrow afternoon we have not reached, or the jury has not reached a unanimous verdict, I fear where this will go. But let us see together this absolute gem from Mr. Reddington, where he went, where he wrapped this up, put a bow on it. And then let's see the Commonwealth present what I believe was a last-ditch effort for a conviction that they will not receive.
About 5 weeks ago that we met like this, and I indicated.
Oh, he's walking.
Thank you for act that has been laid at your feet can be subjected to, and I think I indicated that.
Oh no.
Sadly, jurors carried this trauma with them for years. And the service that you have performed, I have never seen before. You have listened to evidence. You have been fair. You have been objective. You've listened to the judge's instructions, and you've carried them into your heart, consistent with your oath, which is a very, very solemn oath. Passed between government and Lindsey, who has placed herself on her country, which country you are, as a jury of her peers. When you consider what's at stake here in the sense of what we've been dealing with. All right. Dawson. Kelly. She knows loss. And that's why we think Cora does. Kelly. For a minute. They are the victims of this case. They are the victims of the horrible, horrific act that has been laid at your feet as jurors to decide whether or not Lindsey is guilty. Beyond a reasonable doubt, as His Honor instructed you and will instruct you, what that means, that standard of proof that we as citizens in this country are so blessed to have, proof beyond a reasonable doubt before the government charges any citizen with a crime. I don't care how many cops you have in here, how many DAs are sitting here, how many people are sitting in the front row, and they're all going to sit there and be proud of this prosecution. I told you in the opening statement that this is a prosecution that has ripped the soul out of this girl. This is what they had. This is their family. How does this turn into this? How? Because of the damn medicine and the lousy medical care that she got.
Sorry, babes. Here's the thing. Kevin Reddington, I don't think I've seen another attorney as able to relate and bring things down to a common level as he does. Nobody does it as well as K-Shred. And although he is he's a kind of like a good old boy, he reminds me of, but like in the best possible way, a Boston good old boy, a wise guy, if you will. And he takes no shit and does no harm. But when he's talking to you, you feel like he's talking right to you.
You can troop as many paid experts as you want to come in here and tell the jury, oh, well, she didn't say that she heard voices inside her head. She said she heard voices from outside her head. She said she was making chicken McNuggets. There was a bowl on the sofa. She wasn't making chicken McNuggets. She said something. As I think and I muse and I try real hard to tell you what my opinion is, that this woman was acting in her right mind when these children were killed. So, when you consider the evidence in this case, you consider the person who is in front of you, who is the defendant, as the government refers to her, and as this honorable wouldn't like to tell you, even though a person is a defendant in our system of justice, you don't have to defend against anything. The government has the burden of proof. When the DA decides to charge someone with a crime, he has the burden of proof. His assistants have the burden of proof to prove, number one, that Lindsey is guilty of this offense beyond a reasonable doubt, and then prove, number two, that Lindsey, at the time, killed her children, was not suffering from a mental disease or defect that caused her to have a lack of substantial capacity to appreciate, to know, to realize that what was being done while she was in a psychosis. But we'll laugh about that. It's just another woman. I guess it's just going to make an excuse. She's depressed. GAD, general anxiety. Give her a couple of pills, she'll be all right.
The thumbnail of my YouTube presentation, babes, is a tweet that said Kevin Reddington has single-handedly done more for women's mental health and postpartum than the United States Congress has in the last 250 years. Let that sink in.
You know from looking at the objective evidence in this case, this young lady, believe me, I don't have many clients like that. This young lady did nothing wrong in her life. She was a nurse, a daughter, a wife, and a darn good mother. You can see from the objective evidence, you can see, and you'll have all the exhibits for you to look at, and you can see by looking at these photographs, which you will have in the jury room. You can see the Facebook postings. You can see what she indicates about, for example, I just randomly grabbed this one. A son, my Chris.
I just wanted to say, babes, when you're looking at the courtroom today and closing arguments were going on live, it was overwhelming, or I was overwhelmed with like heartbreak and sorrow to see all of the photos, and ranging from family photos to hospital photos to crime scene photos. It was just like the court looked like a scrapbook of the worst day in the Clancy family and anyone's worst day of their lives. And how everything was before that. It's just heartbreaking.
That they would have you think she killed him first. cruelly because she didn't like him. That is repulsive. So she's living real life with Pat, her kids, having a great time that summer. Life is good. She had to go back to work. In an opening statement, I told you, I said, watch the evidence. Watch the manipulation. Because that's what this case was built upon originally and how it developed as the case progressed until it's in front of you. And how does that happen? Well, in the very beginning, going all the way back to when the first 911 call that you had to suffer through was made, you could hear in the voice, Pat Clancy, the horror, what he had obviously experienced. You can see from the evidence that's before you, the injuries that she suffered. You will have in the jury room the exhibits that indicated the extent of the injuries from, I don't have to go through all of them, the extent of the injuries to slitting her throat, to slashing her wrists, throwing herself out a window, blood all over the bedroom floor,
God.
window open, screen slashed. Oh no, the screen wasn't slashed, my bad. That's what she thought. It's called a delusion. She was in a psychosis when she thought that. Probably right here, sitting here, believes that she slashed the screen. She didn't. Subjective evidence. And why did we spend almost a week showing you the extent and the severity of that suicide attempt? The reason that we had to do that is because they were arguing that it was a fake suicide.
Unbelievable. And we've said this since jump. Lovies, anyone who has been with me since the arraignment of Lindsey Clancy, it was shocking when she is presenting via Zoom and in a hospital bed, and the Commonwealth is giving their case facts and just basically saying, yeah, we don't believe it. And they kept saying we don't believe it. And then they finally today, during this trial, will admit that it was an actual attempt. But we know Judge Sullivan had to kind of ask questions, not admonish, but ask questions of why are you minimizing this? She's paralyzed. What are you doing? Her injuries were so severe. And it just didn't make sense, the tact, the strategy to lessen her suffering because of the loss of life. Two things can be true at the same time, and that has been a very nuanced part of this trial and how I have tried to approach it. Just South of History said, I was telling my daughter today that hi babe, how are you? P.S. Nice to see you. No matter how many ways I try to look at this or Lindsey, I can't bring myself to think that she needs more punishment. I just can't, and I tried. So for me, I am looking at this as nothing will bring back those three beautiful children. Her three beautiful, perfect children who should be here today. And everything that I've looked at and everything that I've seen, and I've tried to keep an absolute open mind, and I've tried to look at this from a medical perspective, and I have tried to be as transparent as I can be of my feelings and facts, because facts matter, nursing. It's that the Commonwealth did not prove beyond a reasonable doubt anything in this case, in my opinion. Your medical experts did not provide even the same testimony to the same medications and the same outcome that occurred. If it is more likely, one thing, that she was aware and able to control what she did, then it's less likely that she was in a psychosis, but it's not ruled out. And so therefore, ergo, we are not beyond a reasonable doubt. Not guilty by reason of insanity. Definition.
Dinky little cuts. No bleeding. She didn't mean to kill herself. She's going to throw herself out the window, I guess, and slide down the house. Remember that one hanging off of the window? Sliding down the house, and Lindsey screwed up. And she hurt herself bad. You know that's not what happened. You know that she made, the testimony of Dr. Velkovich, that she made a very, very significant suicide effort, slashing her wrist, slitting her throat. And isn't it interesting when you consider objective evidence? Googling slitting a throat. Googling suicide. Googling drugs. Googling side effects. Googling ketamine treatments. Googling all of these drugs. Googling the effects of Tufts medications. Lorazepam, sertraline, hydroxyzine, lorazepam, busterone, trazodone, fluoxetine, zolpidem, myrtazine, clonazepam, quetiapine, diazepam, quetiapine. It goes on and on and on and on and on. You have the chat, you have the descriptions to see. And obviously, she wasn't consuming all of these at the same time, because one thing this kid did was try to do what she was supposed to do. She took the drugs as she was told to take them. She was religious in her obligations to take care of her health. She went to Dr. Tufts when she was a young lady living in a house with her husband and her babies, respected nurse, wife, friend, mother. Should have kept drinking, huh? That was a big deal, wasn't it? Remember that? We're just going to assassinate this young lady in every which way we can. Remember that evidence? I was concerned. She was drinking 5 drinks a day. She was worried about, you heard the evidence up to 2019. What are they talking about? She wasn't drinking while she had her kids. She wasn't drinking while she's breastfeeding. She would have a couple of beers with her friends. That's bad. Put that over in the bad pile. Right here. We spent all that time showing through Dr. Laposada's testimony that this was a legitimate, dreadful, horrific suicide attempt. You think about this beautiful young girl throwing herself out a window.
Huge, Kel. Absolutely. And that was the one area in which I would have said to Mr. Reddington, just after seeing Commonwealth v. Reed Trial 1, and that outcome, it was, I just wish he had hammered on the fact that they think it's possible she was psychotic, then she's not guilty. I hope the jurors don't flip the burden. And this will be good if we see a question come out, because then we would be able to be like, oh, where their heads are at. This is so difficult because there's so much that you're considering as a juror. And I don't know, I do feel nervous for these jurors when this time is done, because what they have lived through, this is going to be a trauma for them. What they have had to sit through, what they have had to listen to, what they have seen. And it'll be weighing heavy on them, I think, for the rest of their lives. So this choice, I'm sure, this decision that they have been tasked with is one that I believe no one takes lightly. And, you know, the application of law, although it feels logical, we have emotions and we have our experiences that we're allowed to take with us, but you cannot have highly charged emotions in your determination process. And Judge Sullivan had brought that to the forefront multiple times. Why? Because of the DAs. Why? Because the Commonwealth continued to harp on Catholicism, Catholic guilt, mortal sin, which has no place in the courtroom.
The court. I don't know if you have to play pool. I challenge you to tell this jury why we spent a week showing that she committed, as your witnesses.
Counsel, address the jury, please.
Said, their witnesses, serious suicide attempt. Remember that? Tried to kill herself. So another back off on that, and they'll agree. A serious suicide attempt. That's why I say, watch the evidence. Watch the manipulation. Remember the argument with the bands. She took the bands out of the bag, put the gloves on, talks to Dr. Laposada on the Zoom, slams the bands down out of the paper bag, does the movement of the bands and yells at Laposada and says, wrapped. They were just wrapped. You weren't knotted because you gotta get Lindsey tightening the band, right? You gotta hold it. You gotta hold it for a minute.
Oh.
You gotta hold it for 2 minutes, 3 minutes,
Oy.
4 minutes. That's why she needed the bands not knotted. And then she said, it's like this. And they sprang open. Remember that? Dr. Laposada said, yeah, I saw what you did. And she walked away like if the glove won't fit moment. Quarter number 2.
I'm sorry, O.J. Simpson reference? Sir, the glove won't fit moment? Dr. Laposada and slamming something on the prosecution on their desk? Mr. Reddington.
What did Patrick Clancy testify to? You heard his testimony. He indicated clearly, unequivocally, they were knotted around the necks of those children to the point where he had to struggle. And it's your memory, not mine. If I say something you don't recall, forget it. It's what you remember the evidence to be. But clearly, I would suggest, he struggled to get it off of Dawson's over his head. And the police officer saw through the window. It's horrific stuff. But it's objective. And it shows the manipulation. This government, this prosecution is a mess. They would take.
Guys, every time I see the asterisks, I think Mr. Reddington is dropping F-bombs. Is it just me? This prosecution is a mess.
Their evidence and argue to you that she did not tie a knot and walk away because, as Dr. Laposada said, you're talking about 4 or 5 seconds so somebody passes out. No, they're going to have the 4 minutes. And that's not what the evidence shows, is it? So, as we move on, Lindsey's in the hospital. And this whole thing about conversations and she's talking to people and the kids are in the basement, her throat was crushed. You heard the 911 team. You draw the inference, whether or not there's a conversation about where the children are. You tried to kill myself, the kids are in the basement, all that. You determined whether or not that was something that could be discerned. And the police investigation, because as His Honor indicates, there are two things here. Number one, proof beyond a reasonable doubt that she's guilty. And number two, proof beyond a reasonable doubt that she was not suffering from a disease or defect, as His Honor instructed you.
There it is. There it is. Mr. Reddington, stay there.
At the time of these killings. Those are the two things they have to prove. And when the police charge somebody with a criminal offense, they have an obligation to investigate. But at the end of the day, when you're talking about, well, we've got the charges or before the court, you can sit there in the court, you can feel proud of yourself. Do a good investigation. You even know what this, you'll see the photograph of the cup and the powder. What is it? They don't even analyze it. Did they take pictures? Did they analyze? Did they test the blood? Did they, lousy investigation of this. Well, that's okay because she was guilty. And they put her in the hospital. And she's the evil woman that killed the 3 innocent kids. And they're going to stand there Well, she's chained to the bed, paralyzed. You heard testimony from Dr. Zeisel. They weren't little fluffy cuffs that were securing her to the bed. They were handcuffs, not the medical treatment. Medical treatment would be, like restraints, so you don't do whatever, pull blank.
Soft restraints, like when she had her breathing tube in, okay? When she was intubated, lovies. Those are soft restraints, medical restraints that they're putting on for your safety, for our patient's safety, not handcuffs that are to protect the public and others from a suspect or defendant.
We're talking about when the big men were in there with their guns and their badges and they're sitting outside the door, and they're going to make sure that Lindsey Clancy, paralyzed, chained to the bed, doesn't get up and run away from the hospital, I guess, and they just have to suffer their way through. I guess I worked 8 hours. I had another shift I had to work that night. This is the treatment. And what's important about that is what kind of treatment did this young lady get from the healthcare providers? Remember Meg Collins? She came in this court, Meg, you might remember. Tall woman, short blonde hair, squared away. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. She was not only a nurse taking care.
Nurse Collins, MVP.
Of her in the hospital. She advocated for her. She stood up for her patient. She protected her. During the pandemic, you know that Meg Collins was in that emergency room when half of us were hiding at home behind our computers, hoping that we're not going to die in a week, drinking that Chardonnay at 11 o'clock in the morning. Meg Collins was in a hospital treating people and advocating for them. That's an example of what nursing is all about.
Amen.
Not having attitude, not treating somebody like they're to be disdained. And what's even worse, she comes out of a coma. She is intubated. She has had major surgery of her broken, crushed spine, vertebrae, rib, thyroid. Massive, not my words, medical records, massive
Transfusion.
testimony, blood transfusion for the blood loss. And when someone, you've heard evidence, comes out of surgery, they're delusional. You've had anesthesia. Think about having a tooth pulled. Think about the trauma that somebody has when they're in a hospital bed laying there, paralyzed, unable to feel the lower half of their body, but able to feel with the meds and the pain medication and everything else, the damage to the spine. And then the hospital has a meeting. Remember the other doctor, I think it was Dr. Shah, the Indian woman? Wicked impressive. She was amazing.
Stop it. Kevin Reddington, you stop it. Stop it right now. Wicked awesome. The Indian woman, I can't.
She had the facts. She was able to tell you exactly what she observed. She was able to tell you what they were doing to treat Lindsey. She treated her like a human being. She was a damn good doctor. Came in here and told you all of her observations about her and told you one of the things that ultimately that they were concerned about is they had to have this big confabulation about, we're going to take her off the healthcare process. They had to have lawyers. They had to have people there. They had to have her signing documents. They had to determine whether or not she was going to be signing something to have her parents take over because Pat was not going to be responsible for her care. Lawyers, cops, handcuffs. Do I need a lawyer? Write that down. Where are you? You're over there somewhere. Write that down. Boy, she wanted a lawyer. That's a bad thing. Must be guilty. Let's put that in the guilty pile. That's why she said that in a delirious state.
The quarter.
Dealing with all of these people about that issue. But what's even more nefarious, if you think about it, as I said, your eye on the ball because of the manipulation. Paul Zeisel, big deal. I'm friends with the guy. You heard evidence that I called him. I was with Pat a night or two after this incident in the bedroom with all the blood. I was with Pat taking evidence that the police didn't even see in their thorough investigation.
Huge. And guys, remember, this is a big deal to juries. Hearing Kevin, Mr. Reddington say, like, I was at the house and the police didn't even take this, didn't even see this. I'm gathering evidence at a house because they didn't give one shit. And I think it is very important that we do take a moment and remember that the medical professionals that treated Lindsey at South Shore Hospital were very lax at best. They missed a lot. Lindsey had lost so much blood that when she arrived at the Brigham, she quite literally she coded. She was in shock, neurogenic shock. She required transfusions, and they drained between 100 and 300 cc's of blood from both pleural cavities. She had a transection in her spine, meaning severed. And they just had someone paged, and the doctor, the neuro at South Shore, said, yeah, we're going to transfer her out. She was transported out via med flight helicopter. Huge. Big deal. This was almost the end for Lindsey Clancy as well, because she intended for it to be the end, in my opinion.
And I was able, as you know now, certainly, to grab this. Why wouldn't the police have grabbed this? They're all empty. You can see when they were prescribed. You can see what they are. You can see what she took. You read the testimony. It's tough to take a handful of pills. Remember the guy saying that yesterday? Tough to take a handful of pills. Well, no, they were crushed. Oh, shit, they were crushed. Okay. Where's the residue? Where's the crusher?
Oh,
Where's anything? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Come on, Columbo.
Guys. So you have a situation where they leave this behind. They don't even look at it. One of them, and again, your memory don't lie. One of them testifies, well, they might have looked at it and saw it and just didn't seize it. Seriously? They got out of the kitchen, they seized every pill bottle that was in the cabinet, along with the books. And speaking of books, one of the things that they found, smoking gun. Good moms have scary thoughts. Hallelujah. Put that in the guilty pile. We're going to put this in a plastic bag. We're going to show it to a jury so they know that this young lady had scary thoughts. Turns out that Jolata gave it to her. So you have this evidence. You have evidence of sleep aids. You have evidence in the bag. Because obviously this stuff was just thrown in there. It wasn't in the bag when I saw it inside this thing here, and we seized it. And we held it for 3.5 years. Anybody care about it? No. You had evidence that police knew that I had it.
We held it for 3.5 years. Did anybody care about it? No. Oh. Wild.
Have it, they could look at it, they could analyze it, do whatever they wanted. They didn't have to. This here, you heard evidence. This is a little wish jar that they bought on their honeymoon in Hawaii many years prior to even having kids. And when you look inside it, you see that there's all sorts of little folded up pieces of paper. Some of them are dated, some of them aren't. They go all the way back to 2017, 2018, 20. And they reference her wishes to have healthy kids, her wishes for her kids to be successful, her wishes to have a good birth.
Now, isn't that something? Now, all evidence, facts matter, journalism, but like, where was the investigation there, right? And if you go back, turn back the hands of time to day one of this trial, you heard the prosecution say that Lindsey Clancy did not want to be a mom. She wanted to get away from her life, that she was overwhelmed, and that this was her way out. But history would tell us that that's not true. not socioeconomically, not because she had a supportive husband, not because she had an education and a post high school and secondary education, not any of that, but because she wanted those children with all of her heart. And Lindsey's own words told us that she wanted even a fourth child, but she knew she had to get her head on straight. And she kept trying.
Second time around, hoping for a good birth, worrying about I forget, they rub the thing like. This woman lived for her kids until she had the pleasure of running into Dr. Tufts of her 2 months experience. And after she ran into Dr. Tufts, it was not a wonderful life anymore. And what did Dr. Tufts do? And everybody laughs at me. I said the television. Okay, I know it's a telemedical thing on your telephone or on a Zoom. Take more pills. You have the medical records. You heard the testimony. You know her.
Tell us, Attorney Reddington hasn't been watching coverage of the trial without telling us that Attorney Reddington has been watching.
Her concerns. You know her fears. Does this seem like a young lady that didn't care and wanted to score more drugs off somebody? That's another repulsive allegation.
It is.
I think the evidence is pretty clear. There's no basis for that at all. She was scared.
She was
September
scared.
Into October.
Oh, God. That's powerful. It's powerful imaging. It's powerful to see that large blown up Facebook post and it's just like just pushed on the floor. That's so sad. Ugh.
22, young, vibrant, hardworking. You've heard all this, not my words, witnesses' words, holding goals for herself. Hardworking nurse, hardworking mother, would take the kids to the Kingsbury Club. That's another thing. Sounds pretty snooty, doesn't it? Oh, they're at the Kingsbury Club. It's a swimming pool and a place where you can exercise. Watch the manipulation. Because now you've got a situation where you've got manipulation with the Kingsbury Club, you've got manipulation with these other items here, and you've also got manipulation of Paul Zeisel. Told Lindsey what to say. Say that you're hearing voices. Think about how ugly that is. Because you know, beyond a reasonable doubt, even though we don't have any proof, you have no burden. You heard from Sheila. Remember Sheila, the woman that's the reverend or whatever, she's the chaplain at the Brigham and Women's Hospital. She didn't know Lindsey from anybody that night when she came in all broken up. And she told you that she continued. She was there when Lindsey came out of, was extubated. She was there when Lindsey was going through her treatments. She was there for 8 days before Paul Zeisel even knew Lindsey existed. But they would be in here telling you that Lindsey saw the psychologist because the lawyer went and got the psychologist to go and speak to her. And then you have these guys here, the cops. They're having meetings, talking about it. They're talking about it. Must have been the shrink, must have been the psychologist, must have been Zeisel. He's the guy that told her what to say, and he did not. How can you ruin a man's reputation with the career that he has had and still has, thankfully, to put him in a position where he tells a broken young woman who is vilified by our society for killing her 3 children, that he goes in the hospital and tells her to say she heard voices. Disgusting. So now you know that she told Sheila first that she heard voices. Command hallucination. She didn't say command hallucination. I heard voices. It was a male voice. Told me. You had these other guys that came in. The government's rebuttal witnesses. Very, very impressive. Very, very, very impressive. The first 2, Mac, put him aside. You've got the other doctor as well. So Mac is why he was freaked out when I asked him where he stayed. And the other guy looked at me like his eyes were bugging. Why did I ask where he stayed? Whatever. Point is, they don't see her for years. And why? The other guy, Halburn, I think it was Halburn, he had to wait until maybe it was the last name, I forget. They had to process his payment from the DA's office through the school. Who cares? If you have an obligation to try and be objective, to try and even look as though you're competent and objective, why would you wait for so long? Why would you go with another guy? Why would you take this young lady and have her in a room and question her one right after the other? Wouldn't you like to sit there and be questioned by Dr. Mack? Boy, that'd be an experience for 3 hours, 4 hours. And the other guy is going
Shut it. Tracy. Member at Nurse Kim's house consensually for 10 months. Stop it. How are you? Mata said Mac had been fired. No. Bob. Oh, that is wild. Also. Makes sense.
to pepper his questions at her as well between that period. And the next day, she can take tests and then go back at it again with Mac.
For arrest. Yeah.
And she was cooperative. She was pleasant. She was friendly. She answered the questions and she owned.
Wow.
She never ran from anything. She's gone through evaluation after evaluation after evaluation. Recorded. You'll have the video to look at as they're questioning her, as she's sitting there in her wheelchair, hour after hour after hour, 3 years after this incident, but that's okay. They're busy. Paul Zeisel was there, literally, in Brigham and Women's, because I called him. Because I was asked to represent this young lady. You heard evidence. I saw her in the hospital. I saw her laying in the bed broken. I saw her laying in the bed practically dead. I reached out to Dr. Zeisel. And I asked him, please, can you talk to this woman? Concerned, as he testified, for her mental well-being. What kind of demons, what kind of horror was in her mind as she lay there paralyzed and hurting and medicated, swollen, tubes, pops, chains. He went and talked to her. Big deal. I asked him to go. You judge the credibility of a person. Did Paul Zeisel have the ring of truth when he told you that he's there out of a humane feeling to try to help this young lady?
Remember, first do no harm. That is a Hippocratic oath. That is a Hippocratic oath. And I think that that was lost. And I think that that is lost, Levies, in our country. And the bigger question here is, how do we prevent this from happening in the future? How do we prevent another Lindsey? And most notably, how do we prevent losing lives of our beautiful children? 3 beautiful, beautiful babies. And like for me, hearing the Commonwealth's rebuttal witnesses, I mean, they're experts, hearing the doctors give the diagnosis of, I believe the diagnosis is bipolar, right? That's what they said. Lindsey is bipolar. Well, facts matter, anatomy, physiology, psychology, and psychiatry, right? So let me hit you with a little 1-2 here. Auditory hallucinations happen when you hear voices or noises that don't exist in reality. In some cases, they're temporary and harmless, and in others, they may be a sign of a more serious mental health or neurological condition. Auditory hallucinations have many possible causes. Auditory hallucinations are often associated with schizophrenia and other mental health conditions, but they can happen for several other reasons, such as hearing loss, and aren't always a sign of mental health condition. Researchers estimate that 5 to 28% of people in the United States experience auditory hallucinations. They're the most common type of hallucination versus visual. Most people experience auditory hypnagogic hallucinations that specifically take place as they're falling asleep. These hallucinations are common and are not usually a cause for concern. But here's a very interesting fact. Spontaneous activation of auditory network of your brain, which consists of the left superior temporal transfer transverse temporal and left temporal lobes, an imbalance of dopamine and serotonin, which are neurotransmitters, and other mental health conditions that can cause auditory hallucinations. People with other mental health conditions can experience auditory hallucinations. They affect between 20 to 50% of people with bipolar disorder. What? So between 1 in 4 and 1 in 2 of those whom have bipolar disorder diagnosis also exhibit auditory hallucinations at some point. Okay. 40%, up to 40% of people with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, 14% of people with an anxiety disorder, and 10% of people with major depression. Neurological causes of auditory hallucinations are as follows. Several neurological conditions can cause auditory hallucinations, including sleep disorders such as narcolepsy or insomnia, Parkinson's disease, stroke, migraine, and brain tumors. So now we know that in the end, even the prosecutors, expert rebuttal witnesses would tell you that they diagnosed Lindsey with bipolar. She has anxiety, a general anxiety disorder. She quite literally had, in my opinion, auditory hallucinations. And some of our patients might describe that as like you're hearing static, like it's like a radio, babes. It's you're hearing it in the background. And maybe she heard that because it's not atypical for you to, it's like if you were hearing static in the back and you were like, what the fuck is that? What am I hearing? And then for it to become the time in which the crime occurred, for her to hear a command hallucination, which sounded external stimuli, not an internal voice in your head, external command hallucination of a man. That makes sense. That adds up. And that is not how it was presented, in my opinion, by the Commonwealth. Like, just shoot it straight. Say what happened. Say the facts. When you're skirting around things and you're trying to go down a different path because you don't like how it is being received, or what you're saying may not align with the Commonwealth's decisions in this case, then you have to go look inward. Because this could have been avoided on many levels.
And he's been by her side for 3.5 years. Same thing as Sheila. Why would Sheila, for all this time, visit with Lindsey as she testified at the Tewksbury Hospital? She doesn't get paid. She's not a hired gun. She's not somebody that's coming in to say something at my request. She loves Lindsey. He's a good kid. He's a beautiful soul.
You don't just get bipolar because they can present as severe postpartum depression. Cite your sources. Okay, well, my sources came from the NIH and the CDC and the Cleveland Clinic and 20 years of clinical experience. So if the diagnosis that actually Lindsey had was bipolar disorder, then it is a higher likelihood that she did go into a postpartum psychosis, but not the opposite. Just because she had postpartum psychosis does not mean she's bipolar, but there is a higher likely an incidence of bipolar being linked to postpartum psychosis.
So you have Zizell that has been with her all that time. You've got Sheila, who's been with her all that time. You've got evidence that her mom and dad who lived in Connecticut come up and they stay and they visit with her and that they sit with her, and God forbid they actually sometimes have dinner. Remember that? They got the Tewksbury records. Boy, there's a good score. Let's go through the Tewksbury records and see what she's doing on the anniversary of the deaths. How about on their birthdays? Can you see them sitting there going through the medical records? Okay, doctor, what did she do then? She propelled herself down the hallway, met with her parents, laughed, had dinner, watched TV, talked on the telephone. God forbid. She's not curled up in the fetal position, wailing, self-flagellating constantly. For 3.5 years, she's acting like a human being trying to exist. But they go through the records and they want to get those dates and use them against her manipulation. And then you consider we're 3 weeks away from a trial. The guy yesterday that's looking up to the heavens while he's testifying, Caesar, tells you that he wanted to establish a rapport. Can you imagine? You know that you're 3 weeks away from your murder trial, and you know that this is doctor number 3 who's been hired by the government to come in and evaluate you and testify against you, and he's going to establish a rapport. There is no rapport, but yet she was cooperative, she was friendly. Interestingly enough, just like the treating doctors don't talk to each other, they don't communicate with each other, they don't have access to medical records. She signs the HIPAA forms. They don't know what her records are, but they know for sure what Dr. Resnick had in his report. They know for sure what Dr. Zeisel had in his report. They know for sure what Meg Spinelli had in her report.
Oh.
And they incorporate that into their report. But then you have the MMPI and the other psychological tests that were administered to her on the second day of the Mac Heilbrunn team interviewing, interrogating, questioning her. She passes the MMPI. Testimony is presented. She answered the MMPI honestly. And they're pertaining to state of mind. They're pertaining to questions about what occurred. They're questioning this young lady as to what her state of mind was then, in the middle, and now. And she didn't lie. She didn't malinger. She didn't exaggerate. And more
She didn't malinger.
If anything, she minimizes. But she certainly was off the chart on the suicide scale. And then you have testimony from Dr. Resnick, Dr. Zeisel, Dr. Carney, and they were paid for their testimony. We're all paid. Like I said, not the jury so much, but the judge, myself, Chrissy, everybody gets paid. These doctors came in and testified. No, Resnick, the man is something out of a scary movie. He has the world record of investigating, examining, and treating people in psychosis that kill their children, filicide. He has a world-renowned record for checking fakers.
Malingerers, fakers, liars, intentional deceivers, just in case you didn't know what malingering is.
To see if a person is malingering.
Oh.
Their doctor agreed that his article on Voices is a leading article with research in the world. Their doctor agreed that he, Bill Resnick, is an expert on malingering.
Okay, Lovey. So I just wanted to say that Mr. Reddington did a great job, I think. He was trying to compile everything from 21 days, 3.5 years, and in a case that has garnered national and international attention. But he also was he's down to earth. He presents it in a way that everyone understands that he is all over the place. However, I will say this. I get it because I have an ADHD brain. So this for me, I was like, I get it. I hear what you're saying. He's putting a lot of onus, all of the onus, where it belongs, which is on the Commonwealth to prove their case. So do we wish that he hammered that home a little bit more? Reasonable doubt, reasonable doubt. If they did not prove beyond a reasonable doubt every element or if there is more than one possibility, as evidenced by testimony from the Commonwealth's own experts, then this is a not guilty by reason of insanity.
You heard him testify by Zoom because he had surgery. But he showed up by Zoom and testified that, again, 4 months after this incident, he met with Lindsey, he evaluated Lindsey, compared, looked
Yes,
at all
Kelly.
the records, just like all the rest of them. Everyone says, they looked at all the records, the police reports, grand jury minutes, everything else. He indicates
And he
clearly,
left.
in his opinion, that she was in a state of psychosis at the time of this death, times 3. Has any of the government doctors rebutted that?
No.
One of them, Halvin, said it's possible either way. That's not proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
Oh.
The other one, Mac, you can accept his testimony if you wish, but I suggest that you probably won't. And then you're left with the doctor yesterday, who didn't even know what killing during the course of the psychosis was. And when I was questioning him about it, he agreed. I said, don't just agree with me. You're just agreeing with me because I said that? He basically said, yeah. What kind of expert testimony is this? It's a mess. But the government uses them to try to rebut.
100%.
Like Bill Resnick, who tells you that she was suffering from a horrific mental disease and defect at the time of the killing of her beautiful children.
Ugh.
Why? The how? And the fact that under the law, as His Honor has given you, she's not criminally responsible.
Amen.
And the burden is on them right here.
Right there.
Prove to you that at the time of the killing, as Dr. Resnick says, that she was suffering from a disease or defect. As Dr. Zeisel said, she was suffering from a disease or defect. As Dr. Condi said, she was suffering from a disease or defect. And Condi took you down the road of all of these medications as a psychopharmacologist, as a psycho.
I want you all to remember that also when she was treated at Brigham, that there was a documentation on page 74 of Lindsey Clancy's chart that says that was a diagnosis, an ICD-10 code of postpartum psychosis. In that chart. Now, those doctors and those nurses, we are only there to treat you, to save your life. We do not judge. We are not able to. We have to put that aside and we have to say, it is my duty. I am ethically bound to do everything that I possibly can to save your life, to keep you safe, and to advocate for fair treatment. You are not better than, you are not worse than, because the law will handle that. It is not my job. It is my job to heal.
A doctor that specializes in prescription medications. And you got the evidence. So you're able to look at that and determine, see what the side effects are, what she was complaining of, and look at her records. I mean, they have really turned her inside out. I mean, they've got every single text, every single email, every single picture, everything that she did in college. Oh, that's another thing. She lied, according to the guy yesterday that testified. She lied to Pat about being on Prozac. They were dating for 3 months. She's living in Boston. She meets this kid. She thinks that she might like him, and they're dating. Oh, excuse me, before you go out with me, let me tell you that about a year ago when I was studying for my exams, because I'm nervous about talking in public, I got on Prozac. Seriously? That's what the government is arguing in this case. You're going to have this journal, which talks about her being, this is how controlling she was, manipulation. In the opening statement, you may recall that the district attorney said that she was a hard, charging, manipulating woman that was controlling, and everything in their life was controlled, and she ran it to the water, to the carrots.
Ooh, so what she did was she kept the ship running like most mothers do. Also, if you do not follow a schedule with small children, what happens? Chaos. You got a little touch of anxiety, you have a little touch of OCD, you're fucked. I have to tell you, Lovey's quite literally, one of the most absurd things I saw during this entire trial was like, she didn't appear to have mental illness or problems because I saw it on social media. I'm going to tell you right now, don't you ever judge me on social media posts or most people, because that's a highlight reel of life. And I have said since the get that as mothers, as women, I think there needs to be less of a stigma and more of an opening up to each other about the bad times, instead of trying to grin and bear it and bear the burden all by yourself, because no one wants to talk about it. You don't want to talk about the fact that you feel like you're failing, that you feel like you're effing them up, that you feel like you're not able to keep pouring from an empty cup, that you're working jobs, that you're taking care of a household, that you're mothering children, that you are financially managing everything. The load is so much to bear. And that all you post is every positive thing that you have been able to do, right? Like every vacation you're taking, or Christmas morning, or the birthdays, or the Easter baskets, or riding their bikes and all the fun things. But how inadequate do all of us feel when we see that our friends are doing it and they're not having a hard time? And you're like, well, I should be able to do it all too. Because comparison is the thief of joy, rather. And it's when you're comparing a facade, you're comparing what you allow people to see. That's not all of it. And I'd be the first to say that I'm guilty of doing the same exact thing. I used to post everything, like of good things, and then I got to be like a little bit less, I was just like, oh, less and less. Because you don't really need to. I love Facebook still, because it's like I have videos of everything, of my kids, their entire childhood. But it's like, you got to be able to show the other sides in a way that reduces stigma and allows people to say, I'm not alone. You're not alone. And it's fucked up if a medical professional that was called by our Commonwealth believes like, hey, look, everything seemed fine online. Starting, so did every episode of Datelines, the woman who's a victim. Stop it.
So the beats. You look in this book, and as you might recall, Ms. Rossi testified when asked, did you feel that she was being controlling of you? Because she says, for example, Monday, 10:24, Kellen, put down for a nap. Hopefully we'll nap for 2 hours. If he wakes shortly, let him resettle himself. Bottle when he wakes up. Then it goes on and on. Make salad, romaine lettuce. He likes peppers, broccoli. Cut the sweet potatoes in chunks. Thank you, with the heart. Another good score. You look at her journals that she took. You'll see as you go along.
All right, let's get he did wonderful. Let's just hear him at the end, though. How'd you end it?
For example, Ian Whiffen, the guy, you might remember him, was the guy that's, I guess he developed or helped develop Celebrate. What you get when you look at the records, you don't measure on an Apple Watch. Well, I shouldn't say Apple Watch because we know that they didn't have the Apple Watch, but on a cell phone, you don't measure going down the stairs. You measure a stair climbing, right? That's what the testimony was. And there were 3 stairs that were climbed. Okay. The last record is 5:38. At 5:38 p.m., we went through that on cross. What happens to the phone? Don't know. It was on the bed. Was it dropped on the bed and left there for 20 minutes? She could have been anywhere in the house during all that period of time, right? Right. You've got a compressed period of time that Patrick leaves to go to the restaurant to pick up the CV, and you heard the guy yesterday say, and then she sent him off to go to CVS. It's on the way. It's on the way. She didn't want him out of the house long. She was in distress. She wanted him home to help with the baby, to help with the kids.
Did no one ever think also, why would Lindsey have called the order in? If you planned this and plotted this, you would have had more time if you just said to him, oh, can you just go get it and just wait? Or you could have lied and said you called it in if this was your plan, because then you would have had a little more time, sister. And why wouldn't you have just said, I'm not going to go to Cora's doctor's appointment if I had planned this? Her pediatrician appointment. And why would you have him go pick up the Pedialax if you didn't expect to be parenting and dealing with constipation the next day? Just things that make you go, for me.
To help putting him to bed. How long is he going to be gone? She Googles it. Is that something that is so nefarious? You think that goes right along the line with the book about good mothers having bad thoughts. My God, she actually Googled the time frame that Patrick would take to go to 3B and pick up the food and then leave and stop at CVS on the way. So I guess the government is suggesting she's not in a psychosis. So she's Googling Miralax because the doctor earlier that day told her that the baby Cora needed Miralax. Why would she do that? Because remember the government's opening when they told you she wasn't suffering from a psychosis. She was a woman that didn't want to live her life anymore, wasn't happy being a mother, didn't want to live that life. So she's going to kill her kids and hopefully throw herself out the window and not paralyze herself, and then she could run off into the sunset, I guess. That's what their theory was, along with the fact it wasn't a real good suicide, it was fake. Well, now we know, don't we? The mess that this young lady was in her brain, my brain is being damaged. I will never be better. That's the evidence. That's the evidence that we have in this case. Burden of proof is on them to prove to you that at the time that she killed these three beautiful kids, that she just wanted to move on with her life. I suggest to you, just as there's no chicken nugget residue, and then when you look at those photographs, there's a slice of a cucumber, there's a slice of a carrot, there's no chicken nuggets in that bowl. It's like, oh no, Patrick said that the child was eating the chicken McNuggets in the bowl. No, she was getting food out for the two kids, not the little baby, two kids for dinner. There's no evidence that she's lying. There's no evidence that she's malingering. And finally, remember, there was a big deal about whether or not the voices
Nuggies have entered the
are
chat.
within the head or whether or not they're outside of the head. Dr. Resnick's article with the largest research on voices malingering in the world indicates that 30.
Everyone, deep breaths, okay? It's so not like it's almost offensive because it's so nonchalant. But like, imagine if you've been going through this every single day and fighting the Commonwealth and rebutting every fact that they've twisted when they're only supposed to be doing justice. It feels curt. It feels uncouth in some ways to be describing it in the way it has been. But I have to tell you, it's most disrespectful to Patrick, to Mrs. Clancy, to the Clancy family, to Lindsey's family, in my opinion, the way that this Commonwealth has just smeared and disrespected, I believe, the lives of the victims of those three beautiful children in the way that they handled this case.
8%.
21 days.
Almost 1,000
21 days of
that were
torment.
examined report voices from inside their head. And it stops. You're going to buy that guy yesterday? He doesn't know what he's talking about. This young lady is not guilty of the killing of her children. because she was suffering from a disease and defect, as His Honor instructed you. And they're not going to be able to prove otherwise. And it's their burden, not ours. Thank you.
I come up.
All right, next. Here it is, guys. Oh, is my other thing not going to play? Oh, please. Where do you live? All right, and we'll speed these queens up because I can't stand them.
For mental illness, and she tried to kill herself. That's not the issue in this trial. The issue is whether.
Let's start it from the top.
Cora,
Say it again.
there's no dispute that Lindsey
There's not.
Clancy was
I'm
suffering
sorry.
from
You
mental
disputed
illness.
it the entire
Yes, you-
time. You disputed it since January of 2023. You've only disputed it.
She tried to kill herself.
You
There's no
disputed that
dispute
she
about
tried
that.
to end her
All of the
life as
evidence-
well. You said that she was basically feigning it, that she just dangled from her second floor, somehow paralyzed herself when she just did a gingerly drop from a second floor window.
That you've heard, even the experts that the Commonwealth put before you say that she was suffering from mental illness and she tried to kill herself.
That's for you.
That's not the issue in this trial. The issue is whether at the time she killed Cora, Dawson, and Callan, she knew the difference between right and wrong, and whether she could conform her behavior to the requirements of the law. This case is not about our mental health system or how it treats women or what's in the DSM-5 and what's not. That's a distraction to get you angry and passionate about an important issue, but an issue that's not on trial here. What's on trial here, what the issue is here, is what Lindsey Clancy did the night of January 24th, 2023, and what her mental state was at the time. And you can use her psychological history and records, the treatment records, to look at both before and after she killed the kids, to look at how she got to that point, what her thought process was, what her motivation was. But it's not the system or the DSM or any of that that caused her to strangle her kids. In fact, she had more access to treatment and care and support than a lot of people do.
Shut up. Shut up. Ooh, you bitch. Sorry, I take that back. No, I don't. Ooh, you bitchy bitch. Okay, let me tell you something. It was brought to my attention, and it was a very random thought, but Michael says to me in the beginning of this trial, do you think that Lindsey Clancy would have been better off if she did not get treatment? And I was like, no, you dummy. Immediately, urgent. I kicked back. I say, no, of course. What are you kidding me? She needed more. She needed more help. She needed more treatment. She needed real treatment. She needed continuity of care. She needed to not be handed a pill. She needed to be diagnosed appropriately. But at the end of the day, had Lindsey not been put on the pharmacological cocktail she was, and put in a position that she was after being discharged, not left AMA, but being discharged from an inpatient Section 12 at McLean Hospital, the question remains, would Lindsey not be paralyzed and those kids still be alive? So how dare you, thy bitchy one in black, thy bitchiest one in black, say that she had more access and the access to the best and most like up-to-date psychiatric maternal mental health care. Well, then we have a fucking colossal problem in this country. Because this shit was bottom of the barrel. This shit was negligence with the sides of malfeasance. This shit was reprehensible. So fuck off with that noise. Pardon me.
She had health insurance that covered
Oh.
multiple doctors, multiple specialty programs, treatment at South Shore, at Mass General, her stay at McLean. She had prescription coverage to cover the different trials she went through. She had support at home. She had 18 weeks of maternity leave with the opportunity to extend that as much as she needed, which is excellent, which is what all women should have. But she had that. She had support from both sides of her family, hers and Patrick's. The two older kids, Cora and Dawson, were in preschool 3.5 days a week. And she had the nanny,
Oh, wow.
Elaine, who helped with Callan 3 mornings a week. And she also helped her with housework and with food prep.
You mother humper. See, now here's that shit. Now I'm sorry. One more time for the people in the back. Now there's that guilt. Now there's that guilt and shame that how dare you have complaints? How dare you have a chemical, a hormonal, a mental health crisis because you have help. You have had help. You have had additional outside help. You have health insurance, for Christ's sake. You're a mother, for Christ's sake. You're a labor and delivery nurse. How dare you be sick? This is the shit. You are the reason that this is perpetuated and why maternal mental health has not improved in the last 200 years. This shit. Because it doesn't matter your race, your creed, your religion. Nothing matters. Postpartum depression, psychosis, and mental health crisis can happen to anyone, any one of us.
This wasn't a woman suffering from a lack of care, a lack of resources. She had an abundance of help, an abundance of care. She had all of that and more. And, you know, this doesn't mean that she wasn't struggling, that she wasn't dealing with mental health issues. She was. She had depression. And whether that's from bipolar or major depressive disorder or postpartum depression, it all boils down to she was depressed, right?
Ooh.
And she was trying to deal with that, trying to get help for that. But it wasn't the fault of the providers that she was struggling with this or that she wasn't getting better. They were doing the best they could. You have the record, you heard the testimony. They were doing the best they could with the information she provided them.
You really, 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 sorry, prosecutor, pushback time. Again, where was the continuity of care? We know that providers that worked within the same medical record system still did not check Lindsey's previous notes. Stop it. When someone comes to you in crisis, in a mental health, you know, when they're decompensating, when they're saying to you, I am not getting better, I am declining, and you continue to change a treatment plan, sometimes 5 to 7 days after you started a medication that should take between 4 to 6 to 8 weeks in some cases to be systemic and be able to be showing signs of working. Stop it. This is the narrative that continues to push women to continue to hold it in, do not seek treatment, do not seek help. Because if you have a loving husband and a family that helps you, then fuck your mind and your feelings and any hormonal and chemical change that is occurring in your body, you have no right to feel. You have no right to needing to seek treatment. This is the problem.
And that wasn't always accurate information. That wasn't always the full picture. And they were doing the best they could with her level of cooperation and compliance with the plan. Take her medications. You know from the records and from the pill bottles what she was prescribed and how she was supposed to take those medications. And you know from the pill bottles what she actually took. And sometimes those two things didn't align with what she told her providers, what she told Patrick, what she told her mother. You take the Zoloft, for example. The prescription was for 1 25 milligram pill a day for 7 days, and then to go up to the 50 milligrams after 7 days. She told Dr. Tufts that she took the pills as prescribed for 7 days, went up on the 8th day to 50 milligrams, and that's when she had the insomnia and the other side effects and symptoms. She told Patrick that she took the pills for 7 days and they had no effect, so she called Dr. Tufts, who then told her to increase the dose. Well, you know what she told Patrick is not accurate because the pill bottle says, take it for a week and then increase it. That was the plan from the beginning. That wasn't the result of a phone call to Dr. Tufts. And you know what she told Dr. Tufts isn't accurate either because only 7 pills were taken from the bottle. So that leaves you 2.
Good God. So in the 7 days, she only took the 7 pills and she didn't double up on the 8th day? Why, pray tell? I don't know. She was struggling. I'm going to tell you this right now. Med compliance is a real bitch for some patients. And you know who some of the worst patients are? It's us. It's us. Hi, right here. Nurses. We suck. I'm not going to the doctors until I have pneumonia. Right? Like bad news bears. Lindsey knows, like, hey, this isn't even in your system yet. But she's like, not really working. I'd rather not take it. Jesus, I don't really want to take it. Shit, I'd rather be breastfeeding. Ugh. She had been on fucking benzos, guys, for 11 days and had fear. She had so much fear that it's habit forming, right? We know that opioid and benzodiazepines are highly addictive. And she, 11 days in, was like, I got to get off of this. Do I have to get on ketamine to get off of the benzos? Stop it. She was struggling. That should tell you something. That is a red flag. Also, shut up on the 1 day of non-compliance and that she's a liar somehow. Get out of here.
2 options. Either she took the medication as prescribed, 1 pill a day for 7 days, and then didn't increase it, which she says is what caused the side effects and the insomnia, or what she did was not take it as prescribed. She didn't do it 7 days and ease into it and then increase it. She either missed a dose or increased it early before she was supposed to. Either scenario is not good. She knows as a nurse the importance of following the instructions of your medications. She knows how important it is to follow the plan and do what's on the bottle and do what your provider tells you and to give that accurate information to your provider. She didn't say, I went up a dose, went up to 50 too early. Maybe they could have adjusted that and tried the 25 milligram for longer and eased her into it. But no, she told her that she did what she was told and then went up and had these problems. So you can see that in a lot of the medication she has. You have the pill bottles that were turned in by Patrick, and a lot of them don't even have many pills missing from the bottles. Some of them have none. The Buspar prescription, the first one.
So which one was it? Because the Commonwealth made her out to be a junkie, a drug-seeking, doctor-shopping junkie who doesn't take the meds. Also, sidebar, none of these meds are getting you high, other than your benzos that she was nervous about. Like no one's doctor shopping for antidepressants. Okay? Get real.
2 pills missing. The second prescription, no pills missing. The Lamictal, she never took those pills at all until the night she tried to kill herself. So there's a lack of compliance there, a lack of follow-through, a lack of communication with her providers about what was happening with her and how she was taking the medications. And defense wants you to believe that this is a woman who's begging for help and willing to do anything and everything her providers tell her to do to get better. And she was asking for help. She wanted help. She wanted to get better. But she wanted to get better on her own terms, doing things her way, the way she thought she should do them. And as a nurse, she knew that's not the right way to approach it.
Oh, shut up.
She knew that an accurate medical history, accurate information about your side effects and symptoms, what your thoughts are, that's important for your providers to know.
Or let's fact check here. You don't just take the word of your patient. You don't. You do a proper history and physical. You do a records request. You do a release of information. Get an ROI signed. And Lindsey would have given you all access to everything that you wanted. But somebody who comes to you and is looking for guidance, who is looking for help, who is feeling hopeless, helpless, and things are getting weird. Things are getting unmanageable. Things are escalating. And you keep throwing additional meds 4 months, from September to January, Lindsey Clancy was prescribed 12 different psychiatric medications, including an antipsychotic known as Seroquel, where 125-pound Lindsey was prescribed up to 300 milligrams that would knock an elephant out. And she still couldn't sleep. And no one thought bipolar. Huh. Keep doing your 7-minute visits, toughs. 7 minutes. And I try to put myself in another provider's shoes, right? I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I am not a doctor. I'm just a registered nurse. I'm just a Kim. But if you look back and you can see where an error was made, and you can see where maybe your patient load was too high, and that as a new provider, you were just trying to keep up with your productivity and do what you could. This is how outcomes occur in this manner. Thank God it is a rare occurrence, but it shouldn't have to be. Shouldn't be a possibility in the year of our Lord 2020 and beyond. There shouldn't be a possibility that you could be let slip through the cracks so great that an outcome like this occurs. And it's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? For, like, was it the medications? Was it the postpartum psychosis? Was it bipolar and the paradoxical effect of what the medications were working in polypharmacy? Like, so many things had to line up. But when the prescribers are not making the right calls, they're making changes before medication would ever even be at a therapeutic level within your system. When you're throwing heavy duty medication at a patient who has never taken an antipsychotic before and was not in a psychosis, and yes, she had insomnia, but holy shit, you went there in 4 months? That's malpractice, my friends.
She didn't do it. And it seems that the reason that she's not necessarily fully compliant and she's doing what she wants to do is she has this desire to be herself again. She just wants to go back to who she was, and she wants it now. And she doesn't want any side effects. She just wants to be herself again and wants it now. And that's understandable. That's relatable, to want to get that magic pill that will fix you immediately and you can go back to being yourself. But she knew that's not how it worked. And you know that's what she was thinking, because in the searches on her phone, she's searching for things like, which antidepressant works the fastest? How fast does Wellbutrin work? And she's searching all of these different medications for the side effects and symptoms, some of them that she never even discusses with her doctors. And, again, it's relatable that she wants to get back to where she was, but she had discussions with her providers about how these medications work and that it takes time for them to get into your system. It takes time for them to work. She even texted her mother about that, about how she knew that she had to be patient, that it took weeks for the amitriptyline, for example, to get into her system and worked. And she knew all of this, and she couldn't be patient. She couldn't wait. She wanted faster. She even told Dr. Tufts, it's a note in the records, that she knew the problem was that she wasn't focusing on one provider and following one plan. She knew that going from doctor to doctor, practice to practice, South Shore to MGH, to different programs, not the best way to deal with the situation. She said it in her own words to Dr. Tufts: you need to stick with one provider and stick with one plan to see if it works.
That is so that is such a spin. That is so offensive because she went from outpatient to a inpatient, like a outpatient partial program, a day program, guys. You understand that, right? Women and Infants was an entire day program, intensive outpatient program. She had increases in levels of care. That's not doctor shopping. That's telling you that it's not working. And it has been my opinion since very early on that I believe that once Lindsey left early and was given the okay at McLean after not seeing a physician for 4 days and being in a locked unit, I feel like that once she said this is supposed to be the best mental health facility in our country, and I am no better today than the day that I walked in, and I'm worse than when this began in September, that she must have felt so hopeless and that I'm broken and cannot be fixed. And the Commonwealth wants to tell us that that murderous mother who wanted to get home for her daughter's birthday, that same daughter she took to the pediatrician for a checkup on the day of the unalivings, that same daughter that she called CVS to make sure they had the Pedialax for, to monitor her little constipation. That monster, right? I don't know what kind of picture this Commonwealth has painted, but I'll tell you, it doesn't look pretty on them. The reflection on them is highly concerning.
And she actually turned down help from at least 2 locations at various points. We talked a lot about the women and infants records. And you don't have to believe what I say about them or the witnesses say about them or defense. You can look at the records themselves. Page 9, it says right there, Patrick was the one who said over-medication was the issue. Not the doctors there, not the people evaluating her. What they put was depression, RO, rule out adverse medication effects. That means they have to look into it to see if medication's a problem. But there's a difference between an adverse effect, a symptom, or a problem with a medication and being over-medicated, taking too much of a medication or taking too many at one time. There's a difference there. And Women and Infants never said she was over-medicated. What they also don't do is turn her away. It's not that she went there and they said, can't help you, go away. They told her, it's in the records, based on the onset of her symptoms, they weren't sure if it was postpartum or peripartum. They saw she had an issue. They wanted to help her. It says there, we offered her. They offered her 3 programs. They offered her the inpatient medical management program. They offered her a partial hospitalization program for general mental health. And they offered her an outpatient program. And she also put a lot of thought into that, into offering her this care. When they gave her 3 separate options, considering she's a young mom, maybe she doesn't want to be away from home, but we'll give her the option of being in the hospital and getting her medications right. But we'll also give her the option.
Spoiler, she went to the hospital.
Where she can, be here during the day and go home to her kids in the evening. And then that third option of being an outpatient and being able to be at home with her kids and come in for appointments. It was very thoughtful of them. It was very well planned out to give her these 3 options. And it's kind of the exact opposite of just turning someone away and saying, go away, we can't help you. And her response, I'm going to talk to my provider about it for guidance. And she goes to Dr. Tufts. She sees Gelada at some point. You look at the records, she never discussed those options with them. She told them that Women and Infants turned her away and said she didn't qualify for the program. She didn't discuss those 3 programs that they offered her. So basically, they give her this offer of help, 3 different forms of help, and she says, no, doesn't want to do them, and doesn't discuss it with her provider. And also that first time she goes to Mass General, to the emergency room, they offer her a bed at McLean, and she turns it down. She wants help. No one's saying she doesn't want help, but she's making these decisions.
Okay, can you imagine, put yourself in Lindsey's shoes just for that moment, babes? It's like that's the last ditch effort. when you go and you say, I'm a risk to myself or others, I'm not okay. You're offered a bed at McLean, and one time you turn it down because you're like, no, I'm not that bad. Like, there's other patients. Also, remember, you do believe, and when you are an educated medical professional, you're like, oh, well, somebody else needs it more than me. And you're not putting yourself first. So imagine if she had turned down a bed the first time, how much or how desperate she was when she accepted the bed.
Decisions and doing these things that aren't helping her get help, that are turning away help because she wants the help in a certain way, in a certain time frame.
What?
And, you know, all
Shut
during
your
this
mouth.
time, between September and December of 2022, she's interacting with friends, with family, teachers, gym staff, the nanny, people at gymnastics, interacting with them in public spaces, in public ways, driving her kids around, all throughout that time, able to know the difference between right and wrong, able to conform her behavior to the law and to the requirements of society, and interacting with others and presenting herself as a functioning adult, a functioning mom. You know that she knew the difference between right and wrong during that time because she had those thoughts at the beginning of December of harming her kids. And she told Patrick and her mother about them. But who she didn't tell is important and very telling. She didn't tell a single provider, not Tufts, not Gelada, not Jennifer McAllister, not Dukes, no one at McLean, no one at MGH, no one at South Shore, didn't tell any of them. And why? Because the police might take away her kids.
Guilt
That's
and
irrational.
shame. Guilt and shame. That's why. I'm freaking surprised she even said it to Patrick. Guilt and shame. That's why I didn't say it. Duh. Because there's consequences to you saying something like that out loud. You dummy. And if in December, no offense, and I don't mean, I mean, like, listen, I can't play Monday morning quarterback here, and I don't mean it disrespectfully at all. But let me let you know that if my family member or my friend or my patient ever says to me, I think I am having thoughts of hurting my children or myself, I'm not asking what your plan is, because your plan can eat shit and bark at the moon. I'm getting you help, and I'm not leaving until you've gotten help. At that moment.
Thought that telling mandated reporters that you're having a thought of harming your kids, that they might be taken away for their safety, that's a rational thought. And it also shows she knew it was a bad thought, a wrong thought, because you don't think someone's going to take your kids away because you're thinking something positive or neutral. It's because it's bad. It's because it's wrong. It's because it's against the law. So she knew that it was wrong. And she was able to conform her behavior to the law because she didn't tell them.
Okay, and that was in December. And I want us to turn back the hands of time to last week when we listened to Dr. Shaw. And when he said, when you have intrusive thoughts or you are having thoughts of harming yourself or others, but you know that it is fleeting. You feel guilt and shame because you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I just thought I could veer off the side of the road. Or I just thought, like, some intrusive thought that is terrifying to you. What if the kids die today? Ugh, that's so scary. I shouldn't be thinking about shit like that, right? Here is where it becomes the medical emergency, is when you no longer have fear of that thought. When it no longer frightens you. Because this is your last chance. And go with God, baby. Get some education.
Those providers. She went in and met with them and talked about what she was experiencing and talked about her depression And not only did she not tell them, she lied to them. They asked her, are you having thoughts of harming others? Do you have homicidal ideation? She told Tufts no. She told Gelada no. She told Dukes no. She told Goodhart no. Every day at McLean, she said no. At MGH, she said no. So not only is she hiding it, she's lying about it. She's controlling the behavior. She's controlling the presentation she presents to her providers. And then we get to her
Yeah, you are a thirsty bitch.
being admitted to McLean. You know, up to that point, all of the drugs she's taken from September through December, they weren't given at the same time. The most she ever had at one time was 2 to 3 medications. And usually if it was 3, that third medication was the Benadryl or the hydroxyzine that's like Benadryl, or the Ativan or Valium as needed for anxiety. But most of the time it was 2 medications. And the way they did those medications, you heard from Dr. Statoff, a man who's examined thousands of patients with psychosis, who's treated women with postpartum psychosis, who's treated women who have killed their children, that man who apparently has no expertise. You heard from him that the medication trials were reasonable and rational.
No, they weren't.
She tried a
Lies.
medication, it didn't work, or they had side effects, they stopped the medication. They tried something else. They tried a different combination. And unfortunately, with mental health, there's no blood test or CAT scan or MRI that you can do that says, well, you have bipolar or you have schizophrenia. It unfortunately doesn't work like that. So what the providers have to do is rely on what the patient's telling them. Hope that information is accurate. Rely on what they're observing about the patient and make a diagnosis. And then based on that diagnosis, have a treatment plan. And every patient reacts differently to medication. One patient could do fine on it, the next not. So they have to do that trial and error process, and it's normal, it's typical, it's reasonable. And that's what they did for her. And even if you
Sure, and we've said that, right, babes? Like we're educated queens, and we know damn right well that of course everyone, psychiatry and all of medicine, we're practicing medicine, but people react differently to medication. It is a practice of one. Every plan of care has to be custom tailored to your not only like brain chemistry, hormonal chemistry, absorption rate, your GI tract, and your emptying, gastric emptying. There are so many different things that go into how you respond to medication. It is unbelievable. And it is always on a person-specific, individualized care plan. But it is unreasonable, in my humble opinion, to be placed on 12 different psychiatric medications in a 4-month time span when it would take, in theory, 8 weeks for them to reach therapeutic levels, and she didn't have negative reactions to all of them. It just was, that it wasn't working. Do you hear me? So instead of saying, sit tight, keep taking this, you decided to play Russian roulette with pharmacology. And this was the final result. A suicide attempt and the loss of 3 beautiful children. Tragic, heartbreaking, soul-crushing. And it was a perfect storm, in my opinion.
believe that the number of different medications she took over that time, or the combination of those medications, affected her negatively. After McLean, they were out of her system. Some of them have been out of her system for months. Zoloft, she stopped in October. Other pills she stopped in November or December. And that last one, Seroquel, that she really had a bad reaction to, is out of her system. The only medication she's on leaving McLean is trazodone for sleep and Valium for anxiety. And
Oh, great. A benzo and an atypical
and why does she leave
antidepressant.
there? He wants to go to Corey's birthday party. And that's relatable. That's understandable. She wants to be that mom again who can throw her daughter a party and enjoy it. It's completely understandable why she would want to leave, but she also knew she wasn't there. She knew how she was feeling. She knew she was depressed. She knew she needed help. But she wanted to be that mom she was more. And there was nothing McLean could do to keep her there. She said she
Yeah, they
denied
could have.
suicidal ideation. She denied homicidal ideation. She said she wasn't hearing voices or seeing anything. They saw the entire time she was there, no signs of psychosis. In fact, every doctor she saw, from Tufts in September all the way through Tufts at January 23rd, none of them saw any signs of psychosis ever. So they're all wrong. All these different doctors at all these different practices, they're all collectively together wrong.
No, babe, come closer. Here's the thing, is that no one was trying to, I don't think, be elusive. I think there was a fear of having those thoughts of harming the children in December, but again, having the wherewithal to be scared, being rational, because it hadn't overtaken her into a psychosis. But on that night in January of 2023, in Duxbury, Massachusetts, in her house, when she was alone, I believe that Lindsey Clancy heard a command hallucination that told her this was the time. This was her last chance. And if you have ever known a schizoaffective family member, if you have schizoaffective, if you have bipolar, or if you've ever heard anybody that has had a command hallucination or hallucinations in general, auditory, when you're hearing it, like I said earlier, they can sometimes feel like you're hearing a fuzzy radio, and then it will go into tune. Like you finally got, like, you're in between stations, and then you finally lock on Jammin' 94.5, right? And you're hearing it. You can't turn it off. And it's telling you what to do. And it feels like I've been described by patients have said, like, it felt like it was divine, like, or it felt like the devil or God that was like telling me I had to do this. I was chosen. I have to. Who am I? And a psychosis can come in a minute. And you can be out of the psychosis in five minutes. This isn't something that has a 4-hour window that, like, you present with psychosis, you're definitely psychotic and we know this. No. You wax and wane with it. And none of you could have known, maybe she was having psychosis or she was going in and out, but she was able to seem like, maybe it was at nighttime. Maybe the kids were already sleeping and it was just saying weird stuff to her. Or she was like, are you hearing this? Is there a buzzing in the house? Is the fucking smoke detector chirping? Nope, no smoke detector is chirping. That could be a form. Or if it happened in that a 5-minute window, it's still plausible. And the Commonwealth did not prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty in any capacity, in my opinion.
It doesn't make sense. But she shows, when she's leaving McLean, no signs of psychosis. And they even give her a task to do to see if she can manage her mental health outside of the hospital. Make an appointment, pick a doctor, make an appointment. And she does it. She decides on Dr. Tufts. She makes the follow-up appointment. She gets the documentation and gives it to them, showing she can manage her mental health. They have to let her go at that point. She's there voluntarily. There's no grounds to keep her if she's not showing she's a danger to herself or others. So they let her go home. And at home.
Oh, she's so full of shit because she knows that they would have written AMA, against medical advice. If they wanted her to stay, that's what would have happened. Stop it.
Again, all throughout January, she's showing her ability to know right from wrong and to conform her behavior to the requirements of the law in all the activities she does in January. First, there's the birthday party. She's throwing the birthday party. She's monitoring the kids, making sure, typical mom birthday party stuff. Everyone's eating, getting cake, singing happy birthday. You saw her in the video. She appeared happy and smiling, normal. Everyone that interacted with her said, seems a little tired, but okay. The Museum of Science, you have that video. The Museum of Science in Boston can be crowded and overwhelming on a good day. And she's there with 3 kids under 5 with her husband. You see her monitoring them, caring for them, doing the exhibits, showing them what to do with the exhibits. If you watched that video and you didn't know who the Clancy family was, and we asked you, pick out the woman who is depressed, pick out the woman who wants to kill herself, pick out the woman who's about to kill her kids, you couldn't pick her out. She's completely calm.
Well, and that is possibly the most ignorant statement I have heard ever. You couldn't have picked her out of a lineup because, unfortunately, prosecutor, counselor, attorney, mental illness is a wound that is unable to be detected by the visible eye. Okay? No one looks, by definition, like they're suffering. And a lot of people put a mask on every single day and do the best job that they can to get through it, to not stick out like a sore thumb. Although it took every ounce of their being to get out of bed. Maybe they couldn't take a shower. Maybe they threw some dry shampoo in their hair, barely brushed their teeth, and were on their merry way. Mental health is wounds that cannot be seen, but it doesn't mean that they are not there. And it is saying something like that. So if she was disheveled, and if she was yelling or losing her temper, or if she was a hot mess express like me, would you have been able to pick me out in a lineup? That I had postpartum anxiety, that I was struggling to keep my shit together. Huh. That should have been offensive to the jury.
Her behaviors are typical and normal because she's able to control her behavior. She's able to be suicidal and feel those things, but control her behavior, control her thoughts, and present that image to the world. She's able to do it at the Cape Codder as well. Similar scenario. She's able to watch the kids when Patrick goes to brunch. She's able to watch the boys when Patrick and Cora go skiing on the 16th. She's able to interact with the Carneys on January 22nd. And yeah, they both initially said she was quiet, but then they both admitted she was always kind of quiet. But she was able to interact with them, chat with them in the kitchen. Seemed okay. In between January 7th and January 21st, her mother never comes to the house to intervene. Her sister, a licensed social worker, a mandated reporter, never comes to the house to intervene or help, never makes a report. And they're in contact with her every day, texting with her, calling with her almost every day, and never see any signs that they should be concerned or worried or intervene. And you have those text messages between the defendant and her mom. And her mom, obviously, was very attentive, very caring, asked very pointed questions. How are you doing? How are you sleeping? How are the medications? Obviously, a very concerned, loving mom. How did Lindsey answer? I'm getting a little better. I'm sleeping better. She said the only time her sleep was interrupted is if Cora had a bellyache or one of the kids was up. But she's doing better every day.
No. She said, I'm trying. That's what she said, attorney. She said, I'm trying, Mom. And she was. Ooh. It's going to make me emotional.
She's feeling better. She still says, I'm not myself. I'm not where I want to be, but she's moving in the right direction. And we have that text from her mom the day she leaves on the 22nd, headed back home. I'm glad to see you're doing so much better. Now her mom now wants you to believe that she lied to her, that she wasn't doing better and she was just trying to encourage her. But there are so many things you can say to your daughter who's struggling with mental health other than lie to her if you want to encourage her. You've got this. Take it day by day. I'm here for you. We're going to get through this. But she wants you to think she lied to her when she said she was doing better. But you know that wasn't a lie. You know that she was doing better, or seemed to be, and that her mom said, I'm glad you're doing so much better, because Patrick said the same thing. He said she was doing better in January. Every day was better. The 24th was the best day. They had hope because that's what she wanted to show them. The only person during that time that she gave even a little.
I'm just so sad. Like, I'm sorry, that made me emotional. But like most of us know that if you've worked or you have any family member or someone that you ever know has struggled with either a suicide attempt or successfully completed ending their life, a self-checkout, people don't do that in the depths of depression because they don't have the energy. It's when you are feeling better and on your way up that you are at the highest risk of ending your life. So saying that that was the best day is just interesting to me. And I'm just like having a moment because I'm thinking of my mom and my mom being like, I don't know, like I'm worried about you or something, you know, just hits you. Just so sad.
A glimpse of maybe she wasn't doing that much better was Dr. Tufts. And she told Dr. Tufts that she was feeling depressed, which is why Dr. Tufts prescribed the 10 milligrams of amitriptyline a day, very low dose. And then she told Dr. Tufts again, still not helping. And so Dr. Tufts raised it to the 20 milligrams. Again, a very low dose, a dose a child could take. And that shows how cautious and conservative Dr. Tufts was being in the treatment of this patient who had had those interactions with medications previously. She was being cautious and conservative and acting with care for the patient by slowly increasing the medication. But even with Dr. Tufts, she still denied having a suicide plan, denied wanting to hurt anyone else, denied voices, denied visual hallucinations, showed no signs of psychosis, all the way up to January 23rd, nothing. And if you look at their journal, you look at this journal that defense counsel showed you, she's very detailed, excuse me, about when she took medication, what she took, the amounts she took, what the effect was for months, starting in October and going all the way up to January. And where it stops, January 18th. Someone who's been so meticulous about everything, all the way up to January.
Just a reminder, babes, I don't know how much you weighed when you were 12, but I probably weighed $125 when I was 12. I was like as tall as I am now. And like, you know, that's how much Lindsey weighed. So a dose a child could take, well, yeah, 6th grader or 7th grader would be technically approximately the height and weight of Lindsey Clancy. So is that a fast, like, what do you think you're pulling there? And again, everyone is individual. She said that in the beginning. She said every diagnosis and plan of care and medication treatment plan has to be customized to each patient, has to be personal. It's not a one size fits all.
18th, and it just stops. It's as if she's decided she's done trying. She's decided that it's too much and she doesn't want to do it anymore. And so she just stops keeping track of the prescriptions. And then we get to January 24th. Everything that happened that day, every person she interacted with, every situation she was in, shows you she knew the difference between right and wrong, and she could conform her behavior to the law. The doctor's appointment first thing in the morning. She's able to drive there. She's able to interact with medical professionals. She's able to seem absolutely fine and normal. And this is a doctor who's treated the kids since Cora was a baby. This is a pediatrician who's known the family and has known Lindsey for almost 5 years. A woman who's trained in recognizing the signs of postpartum depression. She told you she looks for flat affect, she looks for teariness and some other things that she told you. She's on none of that. She was able to control herself and interact with her in a perfectly normal, concerned mother way. Able to get home from that appointment. She plays with the kids, she takes them outside, she's sending those messages and photos to her mom and to Patrick, basically saying, look, this is a good day. I'm having a good day. Everything's good. I'm getting better. Here's proof. This is what I'm doing. You start to see the planning at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Ooh.
This is on her phone. You can see her search for Miralax, kids Miralax at 4:02. And then a little while later at 4:13, you see her search for takeout from 3V.
Guys, I fear that we may be actual detectives. All right. We're redoing a detective summer. We did all of this. We pulled up on our iPhone that if you went to go Google the restaurant, instead of hitting call, she could have hit drive or map. It's right next to each other. I hit it all the time. Watch. I'll do it right now because facts, right? We're going to do this together. I'm going to Google. Where's the Googles? I'm going to say Big Al's Pizza, right? It was done. Portnoy just gave it a 9-1. Oh, I want to try it. Okay. So, JK, LMNOP. Big Al's. Oh, son of a bitch. Sorry. Big Al's. All right. Look. Sorry. Focus. Do the right thing, phone. All right, you can't even see it. Sorry, guys. It says closed, but go or call order. They're right there. That's it. So, God forbid, if you press go, it's going to pull up a mappy map. Or she was plotting. One more time. Shut the fuck up. Sorry. In my opinion.
And then immediately after, she does the Apple Map search to see how long it takes to get to 3V. Well, defense wants you to believe that, she was checking that because she didn't want him gone for too long. She wanted him home. She was in distress. If you're in distress, don't send him anywhere. Make food at home, have him cook, get delivery, get DoorDash. Go to one of the other restaurants that Patrick mentioned that were 2 minutes down the road. And she didn't have to look up on Apple Maps to see where this restaurant was.
Well, she didn't.
You heard from Patrick. They had been there at least 3 times in the months before. She had lived in that area for 4 years. She knew where it was. She knew generally how long it would take to get there. What she needed to know was how long specifically on that night it would take to get there. Because she knew she would have a limited amount of time to do what she wanted to do. And what she had decided to do was to kill the children and then kill herself. And so she needed to know, not generally, but exactly how much time will I have. And then
it's so fake, James, right? The affect of the voice is very disgusting. Any jury can see the difference between the mean girls they have been through the trial. And then you put on a show. Really? Oh, this is when you guys can have a heart, say it's relatable. Have you seen the feedback? My question is, will you be given another case? Because I think that you should go back to school, or you need remedial training, or you should be put on a desk from here on out and be pushing pencils, you unbelievable brazen fucks. You've had the tact of the trashiest people. Okay? This has been jarring for me to watch. And I could imagine for the jury to be there every day. And to see the things that I couldn't bring myself to see, or hear the 911 call that
obviously sees that that's not enough time. So then she searches CVS.
Is a trauma in itself.
And not only does she search CVS, she calls them and asks them if they have kids Miralax, and they say no, but they have Pedialax and one other medication. And then she asks, is it in stock? Because she needs to know not only what they have, but is it in stock? Because she's adding to this errand that she's sending Patrick out on. And she has to make sure she's not interrupted. She doesn't want that call at 5:33.
Interesting. Wouldn't she want it to not be in stock? Wouldn't she want Wouldn't it be great if she had called and they said, no, we don't have it in stock? And then maybe you would have had something, you bitch. But realistically, that doesn't even make sense because it was in stock in the generic brand and she sent her husband to look for it. Had it not been in stock, he would have spent 5 minutes and you could have been like, yeah, I called, they have it, just keep looking, or send him to another CVS to keep him out of the house longer. Hello, is this thing on?
She wants him to go to CVS and have the medication there and get it and then go on to 3V so she has time to do what she needs to do. So that's why she's calling to see what they have and make sure it's in stock.
Oh.
It's a level of planning there and thinking and decision-making that Dr. Satoff referenced. And then after that, she texts Patrick, it's been a long day, can we do 3V? And he's on board with that. And she's like, okay, check out the menu, let's get on this. And he asks her what she's getting. She tells him the Mediterranean Power Bowl. He says he's getting the pork belly risotto. 5:10 p.m., she's calling that order in.
They actually do look familial. They're not actually like related in any way, are they?
Talking to the hostess. She gets the order accurate. She is able to answer questions about how she wants her food. She's able to recall and give Patrick's phone number and his name as the person picking up. And then Patrick's leaving to go get the food. And as he's leaving, the kids are in the living room on the couch eating. The defendant's in the doorway near the basement door. And she says to him, oh, by the way, can you go to CVS? Acting like it's this last minute thought, like, oh, by the way, can you get this? And not something that she's been planning for over an hour. She knew about the Pedialyte and she knew about 3D and she knew all of that before she even asked him about dinner. But it's like, oh, can you go to CVS on your way and get kids Pedialyte? And he, of course, is like, sure, I'll get that. And he heads out the door at 5:15. And that's the time he leaves because he says to her, yeah, just text it to me. And that's such a normal kind of interaction that we have in your common sense and life experience.
Guys, I have to go through this because I can't. I can't go through the details. We know what happened. But I'm going to start right here.
But it was a choice. It was a choice. She could have kept trying. She could have, moved down to her mother's. She could have killed herself and left her kids alive. But it was a choice to take them with her. It was a horrible choice. And it's a choice that we don't want to think about that a mother could make because that doesn't make us feel safe or comfortable in this world. But it's a choice she made. She knew it was wrong because she sent Patrick out to do it. She could conform her behavior because she waited until he was gone and didn't tell him what was going on those phone calls, didn't call 911 for help, didn't lock herself in a bathroom upon hearing this voice. She knew it was wrong. She didn't take advantage of this situation. She created this situation, this opportunity to do what she wanted. And when she woke in the hospital and she knew she was alive and the kids weren't, she knew what she did was wrong. She said she felt horrified. And then, while still with a tube in her throat, she's asking, do I have a lawyer? And it's not what defense said. It was after surgery and she's delirious. Look at the records. She had surgery on the 27th. She's asking if she has a lawyer on the 26th. Do I have a lawyer? Because she knows what she did was wrong. And then
that is a mischaracterization. Just a reminder. She changed the healthcare proxy before she had surgery. The surgery is the spinal surgery. This is after she was intubated. And there was police. And she's asking if she has to have a lawyer because she was trying to change the healthcare proxy from Patrick to her parents. So that's a mischaracterization. I wonder why.
Then we get the justification, the excuse of the voice. And there are a few reasons why the voice doesn't make sense. The first is she immediately obeyed it. Dr. Resnick, their expert, the one who knows everything about postpartum psychosis. He teaches other psychiatrists and psychologists. He writes books. And
it's my feeling, Becky, that she still would like to not be here. And that her code is a DNR. And she's in her 30s.
Chapters and articles about how this is a huge red flag if someone immediately obeys a voice. You heard him talk about Andrea Yates, about how she heard voices to kill her children for months. And what did she do? She committed herself 5 times. She tried to kill herself twice to avoid harming her children. But it said that was all accurate.
Let's move on from that.
Lindsey Clancy hears his voice one time and does it. Doesn't try to lock herself in the bathroom, call Patrick, call 911. Doesn't try to leave. You know, yeah, leaving little children alone for 20, 30 minutes, not the greatest option, but it's better than killing them. She doesn't try any tactics to avoid the voice. She just obeys. Another red flag that Resnick was asked about and teaches and writes about is that she only heard the voice one time. She never heard it before, and she hasn't heard it since. So how that works. It's a red flag that she's making up the voice. Another one is that what she said, the voice told her isn't consistent. At the hospital, she says the voice said, you have to kill your children so you can kill yourself because they'll suffer without you. What she tells a lot of the doctors is, it says, this is your last chance. You have to kill the kids so you can kill yourself. And then she tells the chaplain, a third version, you have to kill the kids so you can kill yourself because they're in danger. There's these 3 different versions. Another flag red flag, it doesn't make sense that the voice, she's saying the voice says all these different things. And then the fourth thing that doesn't make sense about the voice is that it's vague in its command. It doesn't tell her how to kill the kids, where, with what, nothing. It says kill the kids so you can kill yourself. So she had to choose where, the basement. She had to choose how, strangulation. She had to choose with what, exercise ban.
Oh God.
Choose again, exercise ban. Choose again, exercise ban. She had to choose how to kill herself. Now, if you're being compelled by this voice.
Okay, wrap it up.
But there was. I guess the third one is Dr. Zeisel. We've never said that he told the defendant what to say.
Oh.
Not one witness, not one piece of evidence. The only person that said.
This is another woman. I've got one hand in my pocket. And another one's prosecuting a sick woman. My God. Give me those quarters, ma'am.
The Dr. Zeisel, that we were trying to say Dr. Zeisel told her to make up the voice, is defense counsel. He's the only one that asked about it. He's the only one that brought it up. We have never said that in this courtroom, and no witness has said that we've asked. She knew what she did was wrong. She could conform her behavior to the law and chose not to. And she didn't expect to have any consequences because she expected to die with her children. And we get to what we have to prove is that
she looks look at her. Look at her. I'm going to just tell you this, guys. I think if Lindsey Clancy had it her own way, she would say, give me the death penalty. I'm not joking. I think that she's wanted to die since January 4th, 2023. And now being confined to a wheelchair, being confined to her own brain, being confined to Tewksbury State Hospital and a locked unit and a 1-to-1 and living through this trial, I think that if she had a choice, she would say, I'd like to check out. Just saying.
First degree is deliberate premeditation and extreme atrocity and cruelty. You know it was deliberate premeditation because of the way she killed them and the way they died. And the order also shows a rationality. The order she killed them in. Because Cora and Dawson are older. If she had tried to strangle one in front of the other, they would have known this is bad. And they would have tried to intervene or run and hide. And she had a very limited time. She didn't have time to try to find a child who ran off and hid. So taking Dawson first and moving him to a separate room, having
nope.
to the office and closed the door, and she wrapped that band around his neck.
Ooh.
And then extreme atrocity and cruelty. The indifference that she showed. to their pain, to their struggle, to their suffering,
Oh, you
leaving them there
faker.
on the floor with the bands around their necks, completely indifferent because she had a plan, she was following it through. Just think of that. The being strangled and the pain and the confusion that they're going through, and it's being done by their mom. Their mom is the one that's hurting them. Their mom is the one that's killing them. That's extreme atrocity and cruelty. She didn't see them in that moment as individual human beings with rights, with dreams, with futures, individually belonging to them. You heard about the three kids. Cora wanted to be a doctor and a mom. Dawson wanted to be a firefighter. Alan never got the chance to dream. Who knows what future he would have dreamed for himself. She killed them, and she left them there on the floor with the bands around their necks.
Ugh.
She didn't bring them up to their beds and
Oh my
put them with their
God.
favorite stuffed animal and cover them up gently and lovingly, leaving them peacefully there. No. She left them discarded on the basement floor like broken toys because she was done playing the game.
Ew.
You know to a moral certainty. She is guilty.
Oh my God. I didn't hear that at the end. Okay. Or devil's advocate here, or she went upstairs, took pills, slashed her own throat, her wrists, and then leapt from a second story window. Maybe that's why. And I just think it's, again, with the being callous and kind of, you want everyone to feel emotion toward the children, the victims. I understand that. But to refer to them as discarded toys and that she was done, quote, playing a game is quite literally sickening to me. Makes me sick to my stomach. And I just want everyone to take a breath. And this has been really difficult. This has been a very difficult trial for a lot of reasons. There's nuance here. There are two hard truths: that the loss of Cora, Dawson, and Callum is unnecessary. It is unbelievably tragic. It is heartbreaking, and that they are the victims. At the same time, two things can be true. It was done at the hands of their mother, and their mother was sick. And I believe that if their mother was in her right mind, she would not have. And she wasn't in her right mind, even when she had reached out for help for months. She had sought psychiatry. She had sought an outpatient program. She had even checked herself into McLean Hospital. And no one was able to fix her. So the real broken one here was Lindsey Clancy. And there are no winners. No matter how this shakes out, whether Lindsey is confined to jail or to Tewksbury State Hospital, this has been one of the most tragic cases I have ever seen. And I love you guys. I'm sorry. I know it's a lot. Tomorrow, the jury will be back at 9 a.m. and they are at about 3.5 hours of deliberation. And they were let go at 4:08. Tomorrow is Friday. I think that if there is no verdict by end of day tomorrow, I think it'll be looking like we are closer and closer to a possible hung jury. And the thought of doing this again is too much. I can't do it again. And I didn't even do half as much as other people or other reporters and journalists, because I'm not one. But I don't think I could do this again, because it just has my insides like shaking. So as always, be good to yourselves, be good to each other. And I love your faces. Hopefully I can do a stream tomorrow. And Mr. Betterow sent me a text message yesterday. He is home, and I hope we can have a Sunday service. Okay? Be good. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Love your face. Bye.
What's gotten into the people in the world today? Common sense of man is pushed out of the way. No one's filtering the wild shit they say. Don't seem to have to read, so why you're so cray-cray? You're not my friend, not my fam, not on my level, not my jam. You're the goddamn devil, I don't give a damn. When you drive through Salem, they scream, burn that witch. So shut all the way the fuck up, you dumb bitch. Please God, dear Lord, tell them to sign offline and hop on to all the good dick that you can find. Let everyone get dick down consensually. Go get you some instead of worrying about me. Everybody should be worshipped centrally. Hopefully you'll realize eventually. Get out of my face, get out of my chat. You're an ostrich, bitch, what you think about that? Well, you all way up inside my grill today. I don't think you have Tourette's, so why are you talking cray cray? You're not my friend, not my fam, not on my level, not my jam. You goddamn devil, I don't give a damn. When you're driving through Salem, they scream, burn the witch. Shut all the way the fuck up, you dumb bitch. Get out of my face, get out of my track. You're an ostrich, bitch, what you think about that? Nurse Kim will preach it, Jimmy will teach it. Other Mary B and me will art it. Last at least young jerks will fart it. This was adapted from a non-ironic valid truth, Kimmy. It's my homework for Jimmy. Shout out to Tish, Kylie, and the other Mary B. Shout out to Zach, Mo, Esk, Nicola, and Queen Valerie. Shout out to Miss Jess, Emily C, and MC Kazi G. Shout out to Ray from Dallas, Fervent, Jess, Glera, OB and TV.